Lloyd, Blankfein and a number of other top Goldman Sachs executives are doing a bit of cashing in. Blankfein made more than $6 million exercising stock options, and his fellow executives made smaller amounts, although still in the seven figures. And some critics say that without government help, these payoffs simply wouldn't have been possible. Joining us now to discuss this and other matters on Wall Street, Bloomberg's chief financial correspondent, Christine Harper. Christine, good morning. Let's talk a bit about these option exercises by the Goldman executives, because they are going to maybe outrage some. You know, there are shareholders and citizens out there who think Goldman Sachs executives have enough money, thank you very much, and after being helped by the government, why should they be cashing in stock options? Well,
these are some filings that came out late on Friday, a nice sleepy August Friday. I'm sure there are people within Goldman who wish nobody had noticed them at all. So they show that these seven executives decided to cash in options they'd been granted in 2000, so that's 10 years ago, that altogether gave them about $25 million in profit on the option exercises. Blankfein made the most with $6 million. That's a tiny proportion of the money he's got in stock. Based on the last proxy filing, which is as of March, he has stock and options worth about $500 million at today's share prices. So, and Gary Cohn around $300 million. So they really have a lot more money locked into the company than this. What these option exercises do show us, though, is that they are being rewarded for a long 10-year performance. I mean, the value of these options is 79–80% higher than what they were worth, or what the stock was worth back in 2000 when they were granted this. So they've benefited from that. Obviously, if the financial system hadn't received government support that we saw in 2008, you might wonder whether their options would have been worth about what like Dick Fold's were, but you know, we can't know that really.
Does this support the argument that firms like Goldman make that it is a pay-for-performance culture?
You know, to some degree. I mean, as I said, if you were granted something in 2000 and 10 years later it's worth 80% more because of the profits your company has made, the S&P 500 hasn't done that well. It's down over 10 years. So I think they would argue certainly that they've benefited. If you look, they've got some option grants that they made in 2007, which they won't be able to make. They won't be able to make any money on if the stock doesn't go over $200-something. So they are pretty much aligned with the stock performance.
Now, why exercise these options now? Because given the cloud of negative publicity around Goldman Sachs, you'd have to imagine that they wouldn't be exercising if they didn't have to.
Right. Well, they look like they expire in November 2010. They're 10-year options, so they would be worth nothing if they didn't do something with them soon. I don't know many people who would decide just to throw away a few $1 million. So why did they do it in August rather than October or November? I don't know.
It may have to do with the schedules under which they're allowed to sell that kind of thing.
May want to just do it on a sleepy Friday in August.
Sleepy Friday in August. Christine, before you go, I want to bring up this story that we had Jeff McCracken on to discuss earlier. Goldman Sachs effectively poisoning the well for the rest of Wall Street, offering to charge only 3/4 of a percentage point on the GM IPO, and now that's what the rest of the street is stuck with. What do you make of that?
Well, that's fabulous reporting by Jeff. He did a great job on that story. Well, I mean, a couple of things that are interesting. Historically, Goldman's had a very close relationship with Ford, so they may have seen this as a very unlikely deal for them to win. They've been Ford's bankers since the IPO of Ford in 1956, and you know, some of the Goldman executives refused to drive anything other than a Ford for years. So the idea that they'd have any role in the GM IPO may strike some as surprising, and obviously it's a competitive environment. And Goldman Sachs, one area of the industry that they're not leading in is underwriting IPOs and debt offerings, and they want to catch up.
Makes me wonder if Lloyd Blankfein has a Ford parked in the garage at 15 Central Park West. Christine, as always, thanks for joining us. Christine Harper, our chief financial correspondent here at Bloomberg.